We're four friends with hot takes on food media.
And we're here to review and recap all kinds of food shows in bite-sized seasons.
Plus, virtual potlucks, cooking adventures, and food memes.
Welcome to Pod Appétit Gourmet Takes.
Hi, I'm Amanda.
Hey, it's Justine.
And it's me, Meg.
Welcome to our Season 3 Potluck of the Great British Bake Off, UK Series 11, aka US Season 8. All this season on Pod Appétit, we've been going through each episode of the show, but today we're making our own dishes inspired by the show. Normally, we discuss what we've been up to culinary-wise at home, but since that's what this whole episode is about, we're going to move on to the main event. On today's episode, we have brownies!
Brownies! Redemption for brownies.
That's right. After the disastrous brownie outcomes from the Jabibo bakers this season, we decided to redeem the baked treat. So all three of us found our own brownie recipes and are bringing them together today so we can see what everyone's been up to. And for those who haven't listened to Potluck episodes before, we have no idea what the other person made, and we're revealing them on the podcast here today.
Except we do know that we all made brownies.
Yeah.
Well, true. We decided to redeem brownies.
And in case you missed it on Jabibo, that was episode 4, Chocolate Week, if you want to go back and see the disaster for yourself.
Yeah, and I'm so glad that we made brownies because this may be like the most simple potluck we've ever done.
I felt so much less stressed in general. Now, I'll explain why I still had some stress with this, as you guys know, but this compared to other ones, I was like, oh, brownies. I got brownies. I can do brownies. It's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's get into it. Why don't you tell us about it, Amanda?
Yes. So, as Justine and Meg know, our stove caught on fire this week.
No.
It was an electrical fire, apparently.
Oof.
It was a whole thing. My sisters watched it happen and were screaming. I found out later. There was a lot going on. We're getting a new one by St. Patrick's Day, but I didn't really have access to an oven this week. So I made some no-bake brownies.
Oh.
Yeah.
And they're vegan.
Heck yeah.
So
Oh my
I'm
God.
sending the pictures to you guys now.
Dude, I was like half joking, but also like, you should make no-bake brownies then.
I did. I spent a good chunk of yesterday kind of researching different no-bake brownie recipes and seeing what I liked and what I didn't like. And it's funny how many no-bake brownie recipes still involve using a stovetop. To me is not necessarily no-bake because I don't have access to that at the moment.
There's a heating apparatus involved.
Yeah. So I found a recipe. I found a couple that I liked, but this one, I wanted walnuts involved somehow because that is what I originally wanted to do when I thought I was actually going to be able to bake them, is I wanted walnuts in my brownie.
Mm-hmm.
So I found this no-bake brownie recipe from Kirby's Cravings.
Oh my goodness.
And like I said, it's also vegan and
It's
I
gluten-free.
think gluten-free also.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's a very accessible recipe. It has 3 whole ingredients, guys. So basically, you need a food processor. You take a cup of walnuts, pulse those a little bit so they're broken down. They said it had to be walnut halves, but since you're putting it through a food processor, we had whole walnuts, so I just used those because I was like, I don't care. I'm using what I have. And then a cup packed of medjool dates and some unsweetened cocoa powder. You pulse the walnuts first, then add in the dates, then the cocoa powder, and then you can kind of adjust to taste. And I did do some adjusting for like texture wise. I added in a few more dates, and then added in some more cocoa powder to kind of balance out, because I had my sisters tasting to see if it tasted more like a brownie or more just like dates. So I had to kind of get it balanced. And if you guys look in the tray, the picture of the tray that I sent you, on the left is like the recipe. And then I just had a few dates left over and I didn't want them to go to waste. So I just made a less dates, more walnut version that you can see on the right side of the pan.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Because I was like, I don't want to waste the dates. Yeah. And then you put them in the fridge and let them set. It says for an hour. I let it go for like 3 hours just to really set. And then when I was like slicing them, it really is just like you're slicing a brownie. Like it was pretty simple. And in true my mother fashion, I said, hey mom, do you want to taste my no-bake brownies? And she's like, sure, I don't like brownies.
Yep.
But the return of Seth, my sister Addie's boyfriend, when I asked him, he was like, oh yeah, I love brownies. So he said that he really liked it, but he did feel like it had more of a fudge consistency.
Yeah.
So
they look very fudgy.
Yeah, I think it depends on how many dates you use. I do feel like it's definitely more of that like fudgy brownie taste and consistency. But if you have more walnuts to dates, it's not so much cakey, it's just more crumbly.
Yeah, you would definitely need flour to get any sort of sponge texture, I would think. But this looks really good.
Yeah.
It looks very fudgy. It looks just, tasty. I like nuts in brownies for sure. It looks really good.
Yeah, and it had the option that you could put frosting on it, but I'm not a frosting on brownies type of person. I like the brownie to live on its own.
Well, and this is obviously a very, I was going to say healthy recipe. I guess it's healthy. There's no added sugar. It's all natural sugars. And yeah, adding frosting would definitely be ruining any sort of healthiness you've achieved here.
Yeah, because it's basically just nuts, fruit, and a little bit of cocoa powder. And I'll be honest, I didn't measure out the cocoa powder. I just did it to taste.
Did you think it was sweet enough? I know that dates are quite sweet on their own, but seeing as there's no added sugar, how did you feel about that?
I did feel like, for me, it was sweet enough, but I was thinking if you wanted to add some sweetness, I mean, you could do the frosting of some kind if you wanted, or icing. But the other thing I was thinking is maybe adding some honey to just add a little bit of sweetness, either to the mixture or drizzle it on top.
Hey, if you coat it in tempered chocolate, it's basically a Snickers.
That's true.
Throwback.
I was really happy with this. And I mean, I know that I went with a simple recipe, but I also, because I was kind of going outside the box from what we originally planned, from what I originally planned as well. Yeah, and I thought it was a really tasty, like you said, kind of healthful brownie. So they're my no-bake brownies, guys.
Would you make them again?
I would make them again. Yeah, I think I definitely would make them again.
Well, I think I'll be sharing this recipe with my in-laws because I was just chatting with them yesterday, sharing my brownie pictures with them. And they said they were looking for a low sugar brownie option. So this sounds pretty good.
Oh, yeah, this would be perfect. So, Justine, you are up next. What brownies did you make? Are they also vegan?
They are also vegan and gluten-free. They are I don't feel like they're very similar to yours. They're kind of like yours, but like kicked up a notch, as you know, as I'm famous for on here. Whenever we have a treat I make, and I'm like, I'm going to make a healthy version of it. I'm going to surprise your friends with be like, this is good for you.
I feel like I have to say again, just because something has vegetables doesn't mean it's good for you. See, French fries.
No, yeah, for sure. But I made black bean brownies.
Ooh.
So they actually have a fair bit of protein. I wouldn't live off of them. But they do include everything that I can eat. Because I've also been having to not consume sugar or gluten for like 7 months due to inflammation I've been having from being sick and recovering. So I also had the challenge to make a brownie, to make something a sweet treat when I haven't been having sweet treats for a while.
Ooh, is that salt on top?
Heck yeah, it's coarse salt, because I don't have flaky salt.
Nice.
Very pretty.
Yeah. I had fun making these, also very simple. So, like I said, they're kind of like Amanda's, but a little kicked up a notch. They've got a whole can of black beans in there. They've got a flax egg, which is 2 tablespoons of flax meal and water, stirred together. So they've got flax. They've got applesauce to substitute for oil. They do have dates and vanilla, cocoa powder, baking soda, salt, and I added in some chocolate chips that are refined sugar-free. So no refined sugar!
I see in the recipe that it also calls for instant coffee. Did you add that?
I did not, because I'm not a coffee fan, but I can see how you could add flavorings like coffee or like a mint extract if you like into it. Especially like they do, and especially day after, have sort of a beanie aftertaste if you're thinking about it, looking for it, which I don't mind. But definitely coffee would help sort of cover that up. But I am not a coffee person. But like, yeah, also with this, you make everything in a food processor. But with this, you do bake. The texture is also a bit looser. If I was recipe testing, I would do a round with oat flour to give it more structure. But I didn't mind that it had like a looser sort of texture. I actually was like, oh, this is nice and soft, that it would go like really well with ice cream really easily, It gave me like that feeling, like warm, gooey brownie that you could have with ice cream or like have as like swirls, like those fudgy brownie swirls that come in ice cream. To me, I bit into it and I was like, chocolate, salt, yum, yum, yum.
The texture looks really nice. It looks like a brownie. It looks like you achieved that crackly top, which I'm guessing is partially thanks to the beans, because just in my experience of cooking beans, they tend to get kind of a crackly top if you let them cook a certain way. So I think that's a smart idea for an unconventional brownie.
Yeah, for sure. Like they cooked for half an hour and I feel like maybe they could have gone in for more, but when I did like a toothpick test, it like came out clean. Yeah, I do feel like there's like a little bit of a leeway with it. It just depends on, you're cooking chocolate beans at this point. It's chocolate refried beans.
Beanie brownies.
Yeah.
Beanies,
yeah. No, but I like them. And like I said, they're sort of like, I do like making little like protein ball snacks and stuff to have throughout the day. And I feel like this sort of fits that category as well, as something I could just like have as like my afternoon snack if I'm like need to take like a vitamin or something with it. They definitely do need that like hour to 2 hours in the fridge to like sort of set, and even like the day after is nice. I think, whereas like Amanda's look more like fudge, mine do sort of have like that sort of like raw brownie look to it, which like I said, I didn't mind. But I don't know if that's just because like I haven't had a lot of treats lately where I'm just like, ooh, this looks good and I'm going to put it in my face. It's chocolatey. I would not have gotten a handshake for them, But they tasted good. And I made a video that everybody can watch on my Instagram.
And the Pod Appétit Instagram, maybe?
Yes. These were just super easy to make. Really, all it took was just measuring everything out and then just putting it in the food processor. Oh, I didn't measure the chocolate chips because who would measure chocolate chips? Come on.
Crazy people. Would you make this again, Justine?
I might make them again. I was balancing. I was picking between this recipe and another similar black bean brownie recipe. I knew I wanted to make a black bean brownie. The other one did have oil and other stuff that I was like, well, I'm going to refine it down some more, but it had also oat flour. So I think I want to do maybe like a combination between the two. I would like to blitz some oats up in the food processor first to give it more of that structure. That's all I think it needs. To me, it tastes great. I like that it's basically everything that I already have. I always have dates. I always have applesauce. Like, I always have beans. Like, this was a real, like, pantry. You know, when they were making, like, pantry meals, and I'm like, this is my pantry meal. This is stuff I always have.
All right, we're going to take a quick break, and then when we're back, we'll hear from Meg. And we're back.
Yay!
So, Meg, are you going to be our brownie traditionalist today, or did you go outside the box?
I'm putting on my face, ready to be amazed and wowed.
Yeah, I can't wait for these pictures.
Oh no, I feel like I've hyped them up too much. Okay, I made Kim Joy's Brownie Animals, aka Browniemals.
Yay!
So here are some of my photos, and here is a link to the recipe.
Oh my gosh!
They're so cute!
So I should explain, since this is an audio medium after all, and I don't know why I do so much work for a podcast where you can't see what I've done. But this is a very basic brownie recipe that then you cut into little slices and decorate with colored white chocolate and icing to make them look like little animals. So I have made a pig, a cat, a chick, a frog, and a panda. And we'll share these on Instagram.
It's so cute. Oh my god. Your detail work, Meg.
Aw. Now this will get some Instagram clicks.
Oh, thank you. I'm hoping for a like from Kim Joy. That is my ultimate goal.
Sorry, I'm just amazed. They're so cute.
Oh, wow.
Thank you so much. I'm quite proud of them, and I spent a lot of time on them, so I'm happy that they turned out in the end. But yeah, I wanted to make something Great British Bake Off related. So I looked on the website, and they had a brownie recipe with caramel in the center that wasn't attributed to any particular contestant. They had a recipe from Dave from this most recent season, but it wasn't any of the recipes he had made on the show. They had Mark with a K's s'mores brownies, which I was very tempted to make, but were very, very complicated. And I also don't have a creme brulee torch to torch the marshmallow on top. And also Mary Berry has a couple of brownie recipes in her cookbook, but ultimately I thought, well, what does Kim Joy have? So I did a little bit of Googling, and I found this recipe, which she shared on The Guardian. And the basic brownie recipe itself is quite easy to make. It's very traditional. It's got sugar, a whole bunch of butter, cocoa powder, flour, chocolate chips, eggs. It's what you would expect from a brownie recipe. So you bake that as usual. But then when it gets different is the decorations. So what I've done here is I've melted some white chocolate chips and dyed them with food coloring, and then put them over the brownies and added little facial details with black food gel and sprinkles. So this was definitely the hardest part. The recipe says to drizzle the chocolate over the brownies with a spoon, and the white chocolate didn't stay drizzling consistency for very long. I melted it over a double boiler on the stovetop, and on the stovetop it was nice and melty, but then you have to take some off the stove, mix in the food coloring, and then I put it in a piping bag. And even though it doesn't take very long to mix in the food dye, that short amount of time, it really starts to set already. So I had a little bit of trouble getting even coverage. You can kind of see in the photo, the pig especially is a little bit rough. He looks a little bit like the Michelin Man. And the recipe does also call for royal icing to add the facial details. And in hindsight, if I were to do this again, I probably would have done royal icing for the base color as well, because royal icing floods very easily. So I think that would have given me nice, smooth, even base coverage. Or the recipe also listed as an alternative pre-colored candy melts that you melt and then directly add those. So if I had time to acquire those, I already had white chocolate chips on hand. But if I had gotten candy melts, that might have been the way to go. They were fun to make. They're really cute. I don't know if you have a kid's birthday party coming up, it might be something fun to make.
Now, when you saw this Guardian recipe of Kim Joy's, immediately were you like, okay, these are the ones, I have to make these?
Kind of, yeah, because I did really want to make something Great British Bake Off, and it just seemed fun. I love Kim Joy's creations. She makes such cute animals, and I've never made any of her animal recipes before. I have made a cookie recipe by her before, but it was pretty basic cookies. They weren't designed to look like, cosmic space turtles or anything like that. So I thought it'd be fun to make one of her patented cute animal creations.
How did you decide which animals you wanted to do?
I thought about how I wanted to get sort of a rainbow of colors. So I thought, well, pink, a pig is pink, frogs are green. So I kind of thought along those lines. And I really wanted a cat. So I kind of started with the cat idea. But I think my favorite ended up being the panda bear. I think the panda bear was really cute. And actually was the easiest one to do, too, because I didn't have to color the base white chocolate. And the details were added with the already black food gel. So that one was actually pretty easy to make.
Oh, my God.
I really love the panda. So my family always called me Amanda Panda when I was little. And so I have so much panda stuff. I love pandas. And if someone had made these for me as a child, I would have just exploded with joy. They're so wonderful.
Yeah. If you had just done pandas, since they're the easiest ones, how many of these character blocks could you make from that 8x8 pan?
The recipe says that you can make 12, and you definitely could have. The way I cut it out, that for sure would have made 12 of these animals, but I ended up only making 5 because I knew they would take a while to decorate, and I was like, I'm not going to make all of these. Yeah. And also, I think when we were talking about the brownie episode on the pod, I mentioned that I'm not a huge fan of frosting or icing on top of the brownies when I'm eating them. So I made these more for the cute factor. So I also wanted some just plain straight up brownies that I could enjoy without a whole bunch of white chocolate on top.
Yeah, because you said that, at first I was really surprised that you did do this, but I'm also I love this so much. This is the best thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, so I did it for the gram, not necessarily for the ultimate flavor.
How did they taste? Did you end up eating them?
You know what? They're very good, but I was a little bit sad because I just felt old. So I think the older I get, the less I enjoy sweet things. And I think also the less I enjoy chocolate. So these are very rich, very chocolatey. It calls for a lot of chocolate chips or chocolate chunks that you've roughly chopped, depending on what you want to do. So it's a very chocolatey recipe. I think if you are a big chocolate fan, I would say absolutely make this. It's chocolate on chocolate on chocolate. But for me, I was like, oh no, it's too much chocolate. So to be honest, I haven't eaten too much of it, which is a little bit sad. And I probably won't make it again because it just is so chocolatey. But I would recommend it to others. And the base brownie recipe itself, super simple to make. You melt the butter and the sugar on the stovetop, and then you make this kind of thin batter. So you don't even need an electric mixer or a stand mixer. It's very simple to make. If I hadn't decorated this, I definitely would have added nuts because I love nuts in brownies. But the only reason I didn't add nuts was I was afraid they might be too lumpy for decorating purposes.
Meg, every time you make dessert, I love it. Your mochi strawberry hearts.
Oh,
and your Linzer cookies.
Aw.
Always perfection.
Thank you. It's one of those things where I really enjoy the end result. When I'm in the middle of making it, I'm like, why am I doing this? Yeah. But then I'm usually pretty happy by the end. And if LJ were here, I would say that I do think the Brits are onto something by doing recipes by weight, because once you have a food scale, it's just so easy to do a recipe by weight. I was like, this is so simple. I've got my food scale. I just clear it out when I need to add more ingredients. It's so easy, and you don't really need that many measuring cups or anything.
Can we talk about the last picture you sent? Is, I'm guessing, the mess that was left over?
Oh, yes. That was the aftermath of decorating the brownies.
Wow.
It's fantastic. I love all the globules of different colored white chocolate.
I love that. That's not something people ever show on Instagram, you know?
Yeah, I felt like I had Laura level of station cleanliness. I was like, yes, sometimes you need to make a mess to make a good dessert. Mm-hmm. One last thing I wanted to say is that I also wanted to make something by Kim Joy because I have met Kim Joy before. I met her at San Diego Comic-Con in 2019. She was at the Artist Alley selling her first cookbook and some cute little enamel pins that she had designed and made. So I waited in line. She was super nice. She spent a long time talking with everyone, which was super kind. So I had a nice little conversation with her and her partner and got a photo. And she was just as sweet as you would imagine. So shout out to Kim Joy.
Yay.
Oh, that's so cool. Will you share the photo of you with Kim Joy?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
From the before times.
She also complimented my dress, which is like the hugest.
Oh my God,
compliment.
yes.
Will that be the last traditional Comic-Con ever?
It was the last Comic-Con I've been to, which, oh boy, sad times. Necessary, but sad.
Every potluck we do is always like, man, I wish we could do these in person. But of course,
I
like,
know.
even more now.
Oh, wouldn't that be
I
the
know,
best?
because I really think that you would like the no-bake brownies I made. Like, I want to see what you think of, like, the taste and the texture, but
Yeah.
it did say that they're easily shippable. Maybe I'll see.
Oh.
No, I doubt. I mean, like, knowing your family, they're going to be gone tomorrow.
I know. I was trying to figure out if I could save some for anybody at work tomorrow, and I don't think that's not gonna happen.
Our long-distance podcast relationships.
Well, that was a stirring conversation. Now we're going to see what's on our back burner today.
Oh no, the stove's on fire.
Oh, no!
So yeah, on the back burner today, we have quite a few little updates. Rick Martinez is coming soon to the Babish culinary universe.
Woo.
So we look forward to watching him there. Also, Sola has a new show on the History Channel YouTube called Ancient Recipes with Sola. I don't think any of us have had a chance to watch it yet, but we look forward to it.
I did see her cutting some pizza dough with a sword, so that looks exciting.
Nice. So a couple weeks ago, or a couple episodes ago, we mentioned the Reply All podcast that we had started listening to because they were doing a series on the test kitchen. That series on the test kitchen has been canceled due to their own internal issues with race and labor unions. So goodbye, podcast that we were listening to. You lasted 2 episodes.
Yeah, so we were, as a podcast, kind of interested in hearing what the Bon Appetit YouTube folks had to say, because a lot of them were interviewed. And as you, the listener, knows, we covered the Bon Appetit YouTube channel, but Reply All did not get to the YouTube era of Bon Appetit before deciding for editorial reasons and other reasons to not air the rest of those interviews.
Yeah, it was a whole, like, stones, glass houses
Yes.
thing. Yeah.
While we're on the subject of the BA YouTube, coming up, Sam Sanders has teased that he has an interview with Sola on his NPR podcast, It's Been a Minute. We're looking forward to listening to that and seeing. I saw somebody asked him on Twitter, was there any gossip or any tea? And he was like, oh, piping hot, and had like a gif.
Whoa. We know our listeners love tea.
Yes, we definitely learned that last summer. And then speaking of Rick and Sola, they ended up going head-to-head in our final 2 of our first March Madness. The winner that we'll be covering next season is Stump Sola. I feel like we should have like that blah, 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 like March Madness.
This is Stump Sola. I can't even say Sola right. I messed that up.
Y'all ready for this? We're happy to cover her, obviously.
Of course.
Thank you, of course, to everyone who voted in our March Madness bracket to help us pick Stump Sola for next season. We'd also like to shout out to everyone on Instagram who told us what their favorite greens are. Rachel Casper said she loves leeks, blanched and sautéed. Mary couldn't decide. She loves too many. At Hey Jen Owens said asparagus. A lot of exclamation points there.
Yeah.
Lab Partners Podcast said Brussels sprouts. Dan said collard greens. And at Global Bakes by Tanya said money. Oh, wait, you meant vegetables. And her final answer was asparagus. Though I like the way you're thinking there, Tanya. I like that's the best kind of green, right? We want to say a shout out to Margaret, who said Amanda's mom is to Paul Hollywood as Molly is to Gilderoy Lockhart. And like, for real, nothing could be truer. It's my mom even dresses like Molly Weasley, so like it just fits so perfectly. So this week we received a lovely email from Meredith, and we thought we would read it today. She said, hello to some of my favorite podcasters. During the Jabibo Digest episode, there was a brief mention of baking-based mysteries. You jogged my memory of the work of Lucy Burdett, who writes food critic mysteries. Yes, you read that right. I've only read one of them, but it was delightful. You could guess as much from the cover art. And she sent us a link to the cover art that we'll put in the show notes. Thought you might be as amused as I was. Thank you for the fun content. And she is at MareWright13 on Twitter. So thank you for writing in, Meredith. We appreciate it. I've already added the first book in the series to my library queue.
Yay.
Thank you, Meredith.
Yeah, people can write into us at podappetitpodcast@gmail.com.
Well, thank you all for joining us this week. Next time on the podcast, we begin season 4, which was chosen by you. We'll be discussing Stump Sola, and we'll be covering the first 2 episodes, 18th century mac and cheese, and 7-course convenience store tasting menu.
Yay!
If this were a visual medium, this would be where I would do the Sola clap, the like clap, ta-da!
Thanks for listening to Pod Appétit Gourmet Takes.
We'd love to hear from you, so find us on Twitter and Instagram at pod_appétit.
And on Facebook at Pod Appétit Podcast.
You can also email us at podappetitpodcast@gmail.com and find all of our episodes on our website, podappetitpodcast.com.
Hi, I'm April.
And I'm Steph.
And we're from the Thirst Podcast. Do you like pop culture news, reviews, and discussion?
Are you deeply invested in Armie Hammer and Timothée Chalamet's friendship?
Do you constantly find yourself debating which Hollywood Chris is best?
Have you lost sleep over the horror that is Ben Affleck's back tattoo?
Then we're the podcast for you.
Every few weeks, we get together to talk about what we're enjoying or what we're looking forward to in the world of TV, film, music, and more.
You can find us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Stitcher by searching for The Thirst Podcast. And you can also find us over on Twitter at The Thirst or on Instagram at The Thirst Pod.
Listen to an episode and let us know what you think.
Bye!